what we're looking at here is history repeating. When radio lost out to television, there was anxiety. The people in the radio business were absolutely anxious and demanded government stop the upcoming television wave. Television was very nervous about other mediums coming forward, cable. The movies didn't want sitcoms to be taped at movie studios for fear it would take away from the movies. No, television saved the movies. The internet is going to save the news business. I envision a future where there'll be 300 million reporters, where anyone from anywhere can report for any reason. It's freedom of participation absolutely realized. The First Lady of the United States recently addressed concerns about internet during a cyberspatial Millennium Project press conference just weeks after Lewinsky broke. She said, we're all going to have to rethink how we deal with the internet. As exciting as these new developments are, there are a number of serious issues without any kind of editing function or gatekeeping function. I wonder who she was referring to. Mrs. Clinton continued, any time an individual leaps so far ahead of that balance and throws a system, whatever it might be, political, economic, technological, out of balance, you got a problem. It can lead to all kinds of bad outcomes, which we have seen historically. Would she have said the same thing about Ben Franklin, or Thomas Edison, or Henry Ford, or Einstein? They all leapt so far ahead out that they shook the balance. No, I say to these people, faster, not slower. Create. Let your mind flow. Let the imagination take over. And if technology has finally caught up with individual liberty, why would anyone who loves freedom want to rethink that? And that's why I'm addressing you today. It got me in the door, this new technology. You walk into the press club, you see a plaque dedicated to Joseph Pulitzer. Someone, again, I love. Our republic and its press will rise or fall together. An able, disinterested, public-spirited press can preserve that public virtue, without which popular government is a sham and a mockery. The power to mold the future of the republic will be in the hands of the journalists of the future generations. And if Pulitzer were alive today, in this time, he would add using future mediums. I was walking the streets of Washington, the streets I grew up in, last night. Found myself in front of the Washington Post building again, looking up. This time not longingly. This time I laughed. And let the future begin.
Well, Matt, for first question, let me ask you, how does it advance the cause of democracy and of social good to report unfounded allegations about individuals and the Nielsen ratings?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I don't know specifically what you're referring to. You know, I have there's different levels of journalism, I'll concede that. One of my competitors is Salon Magazine Online, who understands the president's favorite website. And there's a reporter there, Jonathan Broder. He was fired for plagiarism from the Chicago Tribune, and I read that in the Weekly Standard. But do I believe it? Because as much as I love the Weekly Standard, they had to settle a big one with Deepak Chopra, if I recall. I read that, I heard that from CNN, and But hold on, didn't CNN have a little problem with Richard Jewell? I think Tom Brokaw told me that. No, I think Tom Brokaw also had to settle with Richard Jewell. I read that in the Wall Street Journal. But didn't the Wall Street Journal just lose a huge libel case down in Texas? A record libel. $200 million worth of jury. I tell you, it's creative enough for an in-depth piece in the New Republic, but I fear people would think it was made up.
Well, Matt, I wonder if you would define the difference between gossip and news then, please.
Well, all truths begin as hearsay, as far as I'm concerned. And some of the best news stories start in gossip. Monica Lewinsky certainly was gossip in the beginning. I had heard it months before I printed it. Couldn't really check it out. Knocked on Lewinsky's door. She wouldn't answer the door. At what point does it become news? This is the undefinable thing in this current atmosphere where every reporter will be operating out of their home with websites for free, as I do. I don't charge. It's a question I'm not prepared to answer because a lot of the legitimate news cycles, the Associated Press, for example, will issue news alerts, a recent one being anthrax scare in the Nevada desert, where a group was targeting the New York subways. AP news alert. Berserk. Went all the way to Janet Reno commenting. Turns out it wasn't true. I think that was some gossip.
Let's talk a little bit about the Monica Lewinsky episode for a moment. I guess one could say you did out that story by reporting that Newsweek had reservations about reporting it. The story came out. The American people made a judgment, and Bill Clinton's approval ratings in the polls have gone up 20 points. People consistently tell pollsters they don't want to know this kind of information. They don't want to know this kind of stuff. And they blame the news media, and they hate us even more. Would you comment on that?
Well, I disagree with the question. Ask Geraldo or Chris Matthews if the American people dislike it. Their ratings are doing quite well. I think they just expanded Matthews to 2 hours. I disagree with that. This is a story that's developing, that's serious. When I broke the story, I had it for 4 days to myself exclusively, where I was reporting details, quite frankly, Newsweek didn't have at that point. So I did some original reporting with that. I barricaded myself in the apartment. I was terrified because from my Hollywood apartment, a story of this magnitude was being born. I remember I teared up when I hit the enter button on that one that night because I said, my life won't be the same after this, and it turned out to be right. I think it's, as the front page of all the newspapers say, this thing's yet to be determined. I hope the American people will not let someone who has lied, potentially in office, stay in office. But that's our call. We've been here before, and we've made these decisions before. We're letting the court do it. If you've noticed, the tapes have not been played in public. Portions of the tapes I have heard. And the people who are in possession of these tapes, I believe, are letting the courts take care of it. Some of the tapes are quite graphic, and details I have heard that I assure you will take up several news cycles once aired. So I'm not convinced this thing is DOA or the American people have dismissed it as private life.
Do you see your methods and your medium as controversial in and of themselves, or are they contributing to the degradation of serious or hard traditional journalism?
Well, the editor of Civilization magazine, Adam Goodhart, wrote a great op-ed in the New York Times talking about, is this really something new? This type of fast reporting, this competitive. I'm very competitive. I'm part of the headline generation. He maintains it was a going back to our foundations when the press was found in quite a different atmosphere when the press would report that the president's mother was a common prostitute brought over by the British Army.